Joining me now is Dinesh D'Souza, conservative commentator and author of United States of Socialism. He also has a new film coming out called Trump Card. Also with me is Cynthia Garrett, who's the founder of Cynthia Garrett Ministries and author of I Choose Victory. Dinesh, we were told for years that the culture wars were just a waste of time. And a lot of economic conservatives, fiscal conservatives, said just focused on the free market and capitalism. But at this moment in time, we see why they were so important. Just focusing for a moment on education and what's happening to our education system. Explain.
A lot of the thuggery, the gangsterism, the knocking down of monuments, the unlawful occupations that we see around us, all of this is reflecting the radicalization of academia over the past couple of decades. One could almost say that academia is the theory and Antifa is the practice. And initially, the attacks were on the Confederate monuments, and people kind of looked the other way. But it's really interesting to see how quickly they've metastasized into attacks on Washington, attacks on Jefferson, and I think most tellingly, attacks on Abraham Lincoln. Because right away we have a puzzle. Here is America's greatest president, the guy who freed the slaves. And why pull down his monument? Why go after him? I think the answer is that the left secretly hates Lincoln because Lincoln was actually very effective in unmasking the Democratic Party. Lincoln said very significantly about slavery, it's you work and I eat. So for Lincoln, slavery was a kind of economic confiscation, and Lincoln saw that as the core principle of the Democratic Party. Well, fast forward 150 years, and what's the core principle of the left and of the Democrats today? Economic confiscation. You work, I eat. So I think the hatred of Lincoln is that Lincoln had the number of the left. He had the number of the Democrats, and he represented in some ways not only the Republican spirit, but the American spirit.
There are so many wonderful stories about the American experience. We're not perfect. Nobody is. No country is. But Dinesh, you've written about it. Cynthia's written extensively about this. And yet it's all spray paint land, burn, smash someone in the head, a bad cop story. And that's what is seething inside of young people. Instead of, this is what I can do if I work hard, stay out of trouble, actually just some common sense, which we all, I could use sometimes, this common sense. But I want to read something from the Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia, very important school district right outside of D.C. Headline, we need to have a radical transformation, okay? Their plans for fall take equity anti-racist curriculum, okay? We need to have a radical transformation, a paradigm shift, as they said many, many times yesterday, toward anti-racist philosophy as opposed to all of us constantly saying we're not racist. And that's the chairperson, Sujatha Hampton. Dinesh, this is the kind of education, mumbo jumbo that satisfies people symbolically. But does it create a single educational opportunity or business opportunity for young underprivileged kids?
They're not even serious about what they say. One figure who could teach them a lot about racism is, in fact, the greatest black American of our history, and that would be Frederick Douglass. But Frederick Douglass's name never comes up. Why? Because he was a champion of what he called the self-made man. His idea was that the best thing you could do for blacks is to leave them alone and watch them build up their own industries, their own families, and so on. Interestingly, in Chicago, there's a tall statue to a man named Stephen Douglas, Abraham Lincoln's rival. Douglass was a champion of slavery. In fact, he made slavery the centerpiece of the ideology of the Democratic Party. His statue untouched. But Lincoln is under attack. That's because the Democrats ultimately preferred Douglass's ideology of enslavement to Lincoln's ideology of liberation.